Thanksgiving is over. Let's do this.
All right, with my trusty sidekick Deadpool to keep me company, let's choose the right knife for the job. This one is a carving knife I got on Amazon. This is the 15-pound bird we're going to carve for its goodies, starting with the drumsticks. Since we want to keep the skin over the breasts as intact as possible, we're going to stick pretty close to the drumstick itself when puncturing the skin on each side. And flip that beer over so you can carve along the thigh and backbone. Flip it back over and pop the bones out of the sockets. Now, this would be far easier if you held each drumstick with a clean microfiber cloth. Do the same thing with the wings, using the knife to loosen fibers and strands wherever you need to, and gripping the wings and popping the bones out of the joints. Now onto the skin itself. Using your fingers, primarily the thumbs, you're going to gently release the skin and membrane from the flesh. Angle your thumb toward the flesh to avoid any accidental next song lyric comparisons, and keep rubbing and peeling until the skin comes away cleanly, or as clean as raw poultry can be. Anyway, this process will take as long as it needs to not rip the skin, because the skin is just as important as the meat it'll be encasing. If you've been careful, you'll come away with something like this. Gross turkey skin peeled off a dead animal who didn't do anything to anybody except exist in a place where we celebrate the rape and murder of an indigenous people in order to claim their land for God, gold, and glory. Anyway, it's time to get that breast meat off of the bone. For this, we're going to use the same concept as when we were carving the drumsticks. Stick close to the breastbone when carving the breast meat off so we retain as much of the meat as possible. Don't be afraid to mess this up. You will. I'm messing it up right now, but I'm doing it, and the more we do it, is the better we'll get. Like anything else in life. Breathe in, breathe out, keep pushing. Eventually, you'll get out what you put in, assuming you're very lucky, and the institutions that were literally formed against you, don't prosper. And even then, you'll watch the struggles of those nearby, and you won't be doing well enough that you can substantively help them. But you'll have an... So once you get those breasts off the bone, it's time to prep them for rolling. Remove the tenderloin for use in another dish, or if you think your skin is big enough, leave them in. It's your world. Take the knife to the fattest part of the breast and slowly start to butterfly the meat open until you've got yourself a relatively flat breast, 2 of them. Once that's done, we're going to score the breast with some cross cuts. You're basically cutting into the meat, but not deeply enough that you come out the other side. You're creating pockets for the seasoning to get into. Once they're scored nicely, season both sides of the breasts with kosher salt and use some green seasoning. Link to that video in the description. And rub it in all of the crevices, as deep as you can get. Now place the skin onto a baking tray, and depending on how yours looks, you want the uglier side of the skin to be closer to you. And I mean that end to end, not top to bottom. Lay the chicken breasts on top of the skin. If the breasts have to overlap to fit into the skin, make sure the breast that is closest to you is under the breast farther from you, making it easier to roll, in my experience. Start to roll it up like a cinnamon roll, making a nice log shape. Now get some butcher twine, slide 8 to 10 inch pieces under the log, and tie it up starting from the middle and working your way to either end. Use a piece of twine that's about twice as long and tie up the log lengthwise along the middle for even more support. Trim the ends of any ugly areas if necessary and clean your workstation. Now we vacuum seal that bad boy up. Alternatively, you can use a Ziploc bag and refrigerate that for a couple of days, and you're done with the Turketta prep. Now for the dark meat. We're just going to dry brine these with some kosher salt, shove them in a Ziploc bag, and let them sit in the refrigerator alongside the Turketta. Submerge the vacuum sealed bag or Ziploc bag with as much air removed as possible into a sous vide water bath running at 145 degrees Fahrenheit. Let that cook from anywhere between 4 and 6 hours. While that's cooking, you'll need 3 hours of oven time for the confit dark meat. Add a couple bottles of olive oil to a big old pot and then add in your dark meat pieces. Make sure your wings are tucked and that everything is fully submerged. I added some coconut oil to mine for a different flavor profile. Add some garlic, peppercorns, and bay leaf, cover, and send it to your 225-degree oven for 3 hours. Once done, remove the dark meat from the oil onto paper towels and pat them dry. Remove the skin and shred the meat. You can leave that as is, or you can add some green seasoning and send it back to the oven for 15 minutes on 350. Set that aside and get your turketta out of the water bath when it's done. Remove it from the plastic, and whatever juice is left in the bag, you can add to your gravy if you're making any. There's a link to that in the description as well. Pat it dry and put it on a lined baking tray. Broil that bit, flipping every few minutes to make sure all sides get touched by the heat, and then using kitchen shears or a knife, you can remove the butcher's twine. Be careful here. Try your best not to rip the skin when peeling the twine away. Once you've done that, you can start carving it up.
There you go. Practice, and I'll be back soon.